Now, in today's breakdown, we're going to take a look at the entire Power universe, where we are and what's next. I do think it's a great time to kind of just bring all the information under one roof, take a step back, bring everybody up to speed. I thought, let's hold back with the information, wait until Season 3 comes to an end. We needed to see how the story finished in Chicago. Would Tariq cross over and what would that set up? Would there be any announcements that follow after the confirmation of Tariq's return? And would there also be any other announcements on Power Origins, Raising Kanan, or Power Legacy? Well, now that's over and done with, we can now take a look at where we're going in terms of the rest of 2026 and also into 2027 for the Power universe, because we are going to be in for a big pivotal shift in the world of Power sometime pretty soon. The most recent Deadline article did also read the following: Power Origins is currently the only Power Universe show in production following the conclusion of Power Book 2 Ghost. Most recently, Power Book 4 Force, the Tom Egan spin-off, is now officially over after 3 seasons. Raising Kanan will also come to an end with its 5th season. The past timeline will continue with Power Origins, but the present timeline is still set to be announced, with the future being teed up. Of course, after the end of Season 3, we know that's Power Legacy with Tommy and Tariq. So we are going to take a look at Raising Kanan. What will then follow is Power Origins, then Power Legacy, as well as rounding off with some general thoughts and theories, which does also include going back to a theory that Corny Kemp raised about Ghost having a brother. With that being said, let's start with Raising Kanan, Season 5.
I'm not asking for forgiveness for what I've done.
I'm done making excuses for you and for me. Nobody's untouchable.
Now, next up in the world of Power, all eyes do turn to Raising Kanan Season 5. Everybody wants to know how they end the story for the Thomas family. Does Rock survive? Shit, did she even survive the end of Season 4? I personally think she did, but a lot of you guys in the comments actually think the opposite. They need to answer a lot of questions around the rest of the Thomas family. That includes Marvin, Thomas, as well as Jukebox and also Kanan. Even though we know how their stories end up in Power and where Kanan is ending up, which is Power Origins, there are still a lot of question marks around their character arcs as well. Most recently, we broke down Jukebox's character arc and history, how there's a lot of unanswered questions in terms of what happens with her particular future, because she is said to not be returning in Power Origins. Will she leave New York and why? Why does she become a cop? Why did she change her surname? I did go through a lot in my previous breakdown, how we won't get all the answers, but we definitely will get some. For the rest of the Thomas family, does Lou survive? Does Marvin survive? What happens to Unique, Snaps, and Pop? No doubt all eyes will be on the potential reveal of them being behind Famous and Crystal's death, and then it's all eyes on how does Kanan react, a character that will no doubt be turning from a pup to a wolf. I'm sure we're also going to see a lot of influence from Breeze in Season 5. He'll no doubt play a big role in this final season. I'm really interested to see his influence, his characteristics, how his traits rub off on Kanan, them also building this relationship and bond, which then trickles down to your characters like Ghost and Tommy, which is definitely something we should be looking forward to when it comes to Power Origins. There's also the Italians, what happens with Stefano Marchetti and Phil Russo, especially after Phil Russo did drop the ball. Number one rule, we've said it many times over and over again from the 48 Laws of Power: always finish off your enemy, leave no stones unturned. Unfortunately for him, Stefano did survive and I'm sure he'll be back for revenge. Does that then open the door for Teresa Baselli to rise to power in New Jersey and her potentially being a rival for Rock in Season 5? We all know she will be crossing over to Power Origins, and the same goes for Tremont Stinson. So I do think we need to keep close eye on those two characters in particular. There really are a lot of moving chess pieces they do need to close off and also set up for Power Origins. But this is the last and final Power show that they actually have in the can, at least at this moment in time. There's nothing else filmed and complete. They are currently filming Power Origins and we'll come to that in just a moment. But Raising Kanan Season 5 is the only show left that they have left to air, which I do think still comes around the summertime. I think June or July seems to be a logical date where they'd release Raising Kanan, which would actually be after Outlander. But it's just a bit of a waiting game for the official confirmation, the first look images, the official trailer, and all the articles and quotes that usually come out prior to the season in the build-up. And I really am looking forward to the build-up and hype for Season 5, because it is going to be absolutely insane. They have also added 2 brand new players. These brand new faces will help keep the show fresh, keep us guessing in terms of where they're going with the storyline, and the same for the major players in Queens. Are they enemies? Are they potential allies for some of these characters that we're familiar with? For example, an enemy for the Thomases, but an ally for characters like Unique, Snaps, and Pop. And could this even give us a hint at what to expect for Power Origins? Leslie Grossman will be playing Florence Flossie Sigel, Manhattan's most prolific Madame. Flossie Sigel lives a polished, luxurious lifestyle on the surface, but as the daughter of a Jewish mobster, she's her father through and through, tough, shrewd, and strategic. They've also added the legend Joe Pantoliano in a major recurring role. He'd be playing Pino Bernardi, the head of the Manhattan Mafia. Pino is supremely self-assured and the epitome of the old adage, speak softly and carry a big stick. He doesn't need to tell you he's a boss because you know it already. Bada bing, bada boom. Now first off, I do think we have to mention nobody does it like Raising Kanan when it comes to casting, which is actually one of the reasons why I'm really excited for Power Origins. Sasha Penn sure does know how to pick a cast, and with the addition of these two, we're definitely in for a treat. Bringing in an OG like Joe Pantoliano, who has been on some very big shows, is definitely a great addition, and no doubt he will knock this role out the park. I'm really excited to see Joe Pantoliano in this role. Now, in terms of the storyline and what his introduction means, I do think it could actually mean goodbye to a couple of big players in Season 5. Phil Russo and Stefano Marchetti. I do think it may be time up for both these characters, especially if you're bringing in a new major Mafia boss and a big presence like Pino Bernardi. I also wouldn't be surprised to see Stefano Marchetti maybe being taken care of in his own incinerator that we still haven't seen being used since it was mentioned. But I do think it may be time to say goodbye to these two characters early doors in Season 5, and then potentially having Bernardi play a major role across the season and maybe into Power Origins as well. If that is the case, it definitely will shake up the landscape in a big way for the Thomases and also for Unique. I do think the introduction of this new Mafia boss will definitely change the game. His particular character description does not beat around the bush when it comes to telling us this is a man who isn't just a boss, you know it too. You know when some people kind of just have that aura when they walk into a room, they command that respect, fear, and people definitely know this guy isn't to be messed with. That's the kind of feel you do get from reading his character description, and look, let's be real, a lot of us have seen him in action across many of the popular shows like The Sopranos. He definitely has the feel and vibe of someone who will be a feared Mafia boss, and even more of a ruthless Mafia boss compared to the likes of Sal Buscemi, Phil Russo, and Stefano Marchetti. I believe he definitely will be making them look like child's play. I'll also be interested to see where he fits into the food chain in terms of Raising Kanan. We know Snaps and Pop are two characters who have a lot of respect in the game, who did actually tell Rock back in Season 3 that Stefano was only backing her until they tell him to sit the fuck down. So where is Pino Bernardi in terms of the food chain? Who are his connections, who will be his enemy, and who will be his ally? How do we see him being introduced into the world of power? These are the types of questions we should be asking at this particular early stage, because there's not much else we can go on. But one thing we can definitely guarantee, he isn't just here to play a bit part role. To be bringing in a Mafia boss in Manhattan this late in the game, especially someone of Joe Pantoliano's caliber, he will be playing a big role in Season 5, and perhaps even setting up something that comes in the future with Power Origins, and taking that Mafia storyline one step further. Bada bing, bada boom. Now in terms of Flossie, she's a character who I do think will butt heads with Rock, that's for sure. I still don't believe Rock is dead until Season 5 potentially proves me otherwise. And just going by her character description, she's a character who lives a luxurious lifestyle on the surface, but she's also her father through and through. Shrewd, tough, and strategic. Sounds very similar to someone we know, and I really would like to see her challenge Rock. We know she was challenged by Juliana in Season 3, she stepped to Rock, but nobody really has been able to kind of challenge her to that extent when it comes to a female challenger. Maybe Flossie could potentially prove a different proposition. But again, just like I mentioned with Pino Bernardi, at this moment in time, we don't know who she's the enemy of and who could potentially be her ally. And could she also be setting up what's to come with Power Origins as well? Definitely looking forward to seeing these two new players, that's for sure. They will shake things up majorly going into Season 5, keep things fresh and keep us guessing heading into the final season, at least until we see that first trailer, which by the way may actually be coming soon. Sasha Penn did kind of tease this over on social media, not sure how true it is, whether it is coming in a week or so, but maybe just something to keep in the back of our minds. Raising Kanan's trailer may actually be coming soon. But generally what I'm really excited to see is seeing where they fit in the food chain, who could be their enemies and who could they be teaming up with. Are Snaps and Pop familiar with these two players, with them being OGs in the game? That's something we definitely have to consider as well for sure. But another character which hasn't been confirmed by the way, but is a character that I've always believed we would eventually see, and someone who I still hope we get the introduction to, is also D-Wiz's brother.
My brother just got back from upstate. Truth is, I think she like it better when he locked up. At least you know where to find him.
Now, he was mentioned way back in Season 1. They seem to really focus on D-Wiz having a brother, him being wild, This look that Rock and Lou gave to each other in season 1 episode 2, when D-Wiz was talking about his brother disappearing, he was telling Lou and Rock that his brother had just got out of jail, but his mom's was pretty nervous because the truth is, she probably liked it better when he was locked up. At least she knew where to find him. So it is safe to say this is a kid who definitely disappears a lot, and I do think that look between Lou and Rock was very telling. They know this is a kid, D-Wiz's brother, he's a troublemaker. Does he potentially come back and cause mayhem in the final season? Because you have to think, would he not have questions around D-Wiz's death? Surely he'd want answers in terms of who killed his brother. I don't think Sasha Penn is that type of showrunner and writer to kind of just throw these things in here and not come back to them. I do think most things will be accounted for, and I really am hoping this is one that they would come back around to. It would also be a great way to kind of bring Lou's story arc full circle as well, if D-Wiz's brother did end up having something to do with maybe the downfall of Lou, especially after he killed D-Wiz way back in season 1, episode 2. Again, that look between Lou and Rock, the constant mention of him having a brother, I really do believe his introduction is long overdue. But up next, we've got Raising Kanan to look forward to. Let's see how they end this chapter for Kanan and the Thomases, how they end the story for all of these big players in the game, and how they answer the big question that we all have from Power.
But listen, I gotta get going, make a few stops and shit. I just went to go see my mom, came straight here. All right, man.
Will Rock survive come the end of season 5? Over on X, I posted some thoughts mentioning, at the time, this mention of Kanan's mom only happened to be a thing after Raising Kanan, and also because of how well Patina Miller plays the role of Rock. No doubt Sasha Penn is well aware of the conversation, he'll know what was said in Power, and I'm sure that question will be answered, amongst a lot of other questions as well, but not everything. Some things will be left open, and some things will also transition over to Power Origins. With that being said, moving over to Power Origins, Season 1. Now, initially I was hoping that we would see Power Origins in the fall of this year, which I know myself, I was being very hopeful. I do think with the recent teaser that they released with their 2026 shows, you had P-Valley, Raising Kanan, 50 Cent's new show based in London, Fightland. I really am looking forward to that as well. I personally don't think we'll see Origins until at least early 2027. They started filming at the back end of last year, I believe it was November they started filming. There has also been a couple of BTS shots that we've seen floating around on social media, but they are no doubt a long way from being complete with their first season, with it being 18 episodes. They have also recently announced a host of new characters for us to look forward to, and if you haven't seen those couple of breakdowns, they've introduced 4 new detectives. It does seem as if law enforcement are going to be playing a heavy role in Power Origins. You've got Ghost Grandmother, Grandma Charlene, a young Kate Egan, and more. So I am still expecting bits of casting news and things to filter through for Power Origins as the year goes on, and maybe, just maybe, a teaser scene right at the end of Raising Kanan Season 5. I personally don't think Ghost and Tommy will be shown or seen in Season 5 for Raising Kanan, and let's say it's a after-end credit scene or a small teaser that they release right at the end. I think a lot of people are thinking we may see Ghost and Tommy, but if you kind of think logically, Raising Kanan Season 5 has been in the can for a very long time. They filmed Season 4 and 5 back to back. They then announced the cast for the young Ghost and Tommy way after they were finished filming Season 5. So when you kind of look at it like that, there's no way Ghost and Tommy could actually be in Season 5 for Raising Kanan. And anyway, I personally don't think they should be. It's the last chapter for Raising Kanan. We went through a lot of unanswered questions in the previous chapter that they need to get to in order to close off the storyline for Raising Kanan. So I personally don't think they even have time to introduce Ghost and Tommy unless it is right at the end or in an after-end credit scene or a teaser that pops up right at the end. I do think we'll see a very short teaser to kind of just whet our appetites for Power Origins, get us ready, that I do think we will see after Season 5 of Raising Kanan. But in terms of Ghost and Tommy being in the season itself, I personally don't think so, at least that's my opinion, because they've definitely got bigger fish to fry in terms of finishing the storyline for Raising Kanan. Ghost and Tommy will have their turn, and that will be in Power Origins. So I personally don't think we'll see them, but I do think we will get a very short teaser after Raising Kanan Season 5. Now, one thing I really do hope we get news of at some point is who is doing the voiceover. That's if anyone is, or is that something they're going to leave unique to Raising Kanan? I do think we all know who our number one choice is, that's Omari Hardwick. It really would be great if they were able to make that happen. I think the announcement itself alone would cause fireworks over the internet and over social media, but it definitely is just a waiting game, being patient. We've got Raising Kanan Season 5 to look forward to, and once that's out the way, it's all systems go for Power Origins. We can then look forward to a Young Ghost and Tommy show. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of news, official images, and teasers that get released at the back end of this year for Power Origins Season 1. A lot of articles in terms of what's happening with the show, with it most likely coming early 2027, in my particular opinion. With that being said, let's move over to the current timeline, and that's with Power Legacy.
I mean, you told me if you ain't pushing, then you falling. Last time we was on the rooftop. Build your kingdom. I'm saying I'm talking legacy.
Now, something they've always teased is power never ends, and this certainly is one way. Ever since the end of Power Book 2 Ghosts, and ever since they announced that For Season 3 would be its last season, most of us have had this theory that they would combine the two shows together. From a storyline perspective, and maybe more so from a budget perspective, you can definitely see why they would bring Tommy and Tariq together under one show. But first things first, for Power Legacy, as of now, this show hasn't even been given the official green light as of yet. The previous Deadline articles that have come out have said things are looking good. We know they've set up the writer's room. There was a picture that Gary Lennon posted a while back. I thought as soon as For Season 3 did come to an end, we would get an official announcement, but that hasn't actually come yet, although I do think it will. They're probably kind of just ironing out the details and everything that needs to be done in the background, and that announcement will most likely come in the next couple of months. There's no way they leave us without a present day timeline Power show. That definitely will be Power Legacy back in New York. With that being said, from a storyline perspective, if they are going back to New York, it will definitely provide a bit of a challenge from a writing perspective on a couple of different fronts. One, Tommy's supposed to be dead in New York. How do they make that make sense, where he's able to operate so freely in a town where law enforcement realistically should slap the handcuffs on his wrist the minute they realize he's alive and back in town? Number two, the storyline. New York has been a staple of Power for a very long time. Big rich town, the Big Apple. It's where Power started, and I really don't mind them being back in New York, but I do have questions in terms of how do they keep the storyline fresh when they've already been there and done that? I don't think any of us want to see them having a problem with a Connect, them having to kill a Connect to be the Connect. Another Connect then comes in who proves to be a problem and then having to get rid of them. We've definitely seen that playbook over and over again. The question is, how can they really get us invested into this show with Tariq and Tommy as the lead and tell a compelling story that will take us one step closer to the end of Tommy Egan's story arc? Now, I do have a few theories in terms of how their relationship could go, which I will save for a future breakdown. But I do think we all want to see something fresh, and I do think that's going to be the challenge for Gary Lennon and the writers for Power Legacy. We all know the storyline around Jannard and Vic, how they will come into the frame at some point. I do still think the Italians will as well. Gary Lennon has previously teased Tommy's past may catch up with him, and he'd also have characters like Blanca Rodriguez just waiting to pounce. So I do think that's a hint at what may come in Legacy Season 1. When we do also get the official announcement in that particular article, I'm sure there will also be an official logline or a synopsis. When the confirmation of Power Legacy does come, that's when we'll get more information around the first tease and how they intend to start Legacy Season 1, and it probably will be around the time when they're ready to begin filming. I do think filming will probably start later this year, with the show coming at some point in 2027. With that being said, what happens after Power Legacy?
Like, Gary and I are actively developing a movie for Tommy in the future. So we have already come up with a full outline for that film.
Now, there has been a lot of talk about a potential Power movie. Both Gary Lennon and Joseph Sikora have been teasing that they've actively started doing the work and laying the foundation for a Tommy Egan movie. And if that happens, I do think that will be the end of Tommy Egan's story arc. For those who have been following me for a while know that I've been talking about it for a very long time, how Tommy Egan's story arc does have to come to an end at some point, how I believe the Italians are still Tommy Egan's endgame, but that actually won't be in Power Legacy if they do go ahead with the Power movie. So after Legacy, there does seem to be at least one Power movie lined up, and that's when I think we'll see a big shift in the world of Power like we've never seen before. After Legacy and when the movie comes, if we do see the movies, we're probably going to be saying goodbye to some of the major players in the world of Power. Whether Tommy Egan dies or not, it's a question for a different breakdown and for the future. It really is going to mark a huge shift where, in my opinion, I would definitely love for them to go in a completely new direction, start a new Power show fresh, a completely brand new fresh cast, or who knows, maybe even tie it to one of the major players like Ghost.
Okay, does Ghost have a secret sister? No, not a sister. Hint, 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 hint.
Now, this is something that Courtney Kemp did tease a very long time ago, and I really do wonder if they are going to go in a new direction post-Legacy, post the Power movie after Tommy's story arc does come to an end, whether this is something in the thinking of Gary Lennon. A brand new Power show with a fresh new set of characters that's a completely fresh new storyline, but still has some ties to the world of Power, with them tying in Ghost's brother, who doesn't necessarily have to be in the streets. He could be in politics, in business, potentially a big shot lawyer, where they even take it down the criminal law aspect perhaps, but still having that classic Power twist to it. Death, drugs, violence, and crime. It definitely is something still to ponder, because even though Courtney Kemp is no longer the showrunner of any Power shows, she definitely is still involved in some sort of aspect with her being an executive producer. So it definitely is something to keep in mind. You know, if they really want to kind of keep the Power fans invested, keep the audience, then why not tie the next potential shift in the world of Power to Ghost's secret brother? Let's wait and see. Either way, once Legacy is over and done with, once Tommy Egan's story arc is finally over, it definitely will mark a big shift in the world of Power, where who knows where they go from there, because as they say, power never ends. But that's where we are with the current state of play for the world of Power. Raising Kanan Season 5 is up next. I still believe it's coming in the summer. After that will be Power Origins, I believe in early 2027. We're still waiting for the official green light on Power Legacy, and once that happens, I'm sure they will start filming later this year as well, with a potential air date of 2027 as well. But beyond those two shows, once Legacy comes to an end, that's when we potentially may see the Power movie, the end of Tommy Egan's story arc, and where the Power universe then pivots and shifts to a completely new direction, in my particular opinion. With that being said, drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.